The dining room table was set for 4, the soft glow of candlelight illuminating the carefully arranged place settings. I took a deep breath, savoring the aroma of the roasted chicken and fresh herbs wafting from the kitchen. This was supposed to be a quiet family dinner, a chance to reconnect after Dane's latest business trip, but the sound of the front door slamming open shattered the tranquil atmosphere. "Where are you?" Dane's gruff voice echoed through the hallway. I stepped out of the kitchen, my heart sinking at the sight of his disheveled appearance and the scowl etched on his face. "The kids will be down any minute. What's going on?" He thrust a manila envelope at me, his eyes cold and unforgiving. "I want a divorce, Alara. It's over." The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. Divorce? After 17 years of marriage, countless sacrifices, and 3 beautiful children, he was ready to throw it all away? Dad? Meredith's trembling voice came from the top of the stairs. Dane whirled around, his jaw clenched. "You're coming with me. I'm taking custody." "What? No." I stepped between them, shielding Meredith from his rage. "You can't just waltz in here and demand that." "Watch me," he sneered, towering over me. "You think a judge is going to grant custody to a part-time gallery worker? I'm the breadwinner, the one with the means to provide for her." Callie and Ian emerged from their rooms, eyes wide with fear at the commotion. Dane's tirade was tearing our family apart, right before their eyes. "Stop it!" I cried, my voice thick with emotion. "You're scaring the children." He leaned in, his breath hot against my face. "Wake up, Alara. This is the real world. And in the real world, money talks. You've got no chance against me." In that moment, something shifted inside me. The fear and heartbreak gave way to a simmering rage, fueling a determination I didn't know I possessed. I would not let this man destroy my family any longer. "We'll see about that," I said, meeting his gaze with unwavering resolve. With trembling hands, I packed a small suitcase, trying to muffle the sound of my sobs. Meredith's cries echoed from the other room, tearing my heart to shreds. "How could Dane do this to our family?" "Mom, please don't go." Callie clung to me, her face streaked with tears. I pulled her into a tight embrace. "I don't have a choice, honey, but I promise I'll fight for us to be together again." Ian stood in the doorway, clutching his favorite stuffed animal, his eyes wide and frightened. "Where are we going?" "We're going to stay with Grandma for a little while," I said, forcing a reassuring smile. Dane appeared, his face like stone. "Time's up, let's go." I turned to Meredith, her slender frame racked with sobs as she clung to the doorframe. "Mom, don't leave me. Please." Dane grabbed her arm, yanking her away. "That's enough. You're coming with me." "No." I lunged forward, but Dane shoved me back, his strength overpowering me. "Stay out of this, Alara. She's mine now." He dragged a screaming Meredith down the hallway, her anguished cries piercing my soul. I sank to the floor, my body numb with shock and grief. How had everything fallen apart so quickly? At my mother's house, Agnes pulled me into her arms, her gentle touch a balm for my broken heart. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart, but you can't give up. You have to fight for your children." Her words ignited a spark of determination deep within me. Dane thought he could trample all over me, but he was wrong. I would burn his world to the ground if that's what it took to get my family back. Over the next few weeks, I consulted lawyers, trying to find someone who could help me gain leverage against Dane's wealth and power. Finally, I met with Mrs. Green, a sharp-tongued attorney with a reputation for taking on tough cases. "Your husband is a real piece of work," she said, flipping through the stack of papers detailing Dane's misdeeds. "Embezzlement, fraud, tax evasion, he's been a busy boy." My heart raced. "Can you use this against him, in the custody case?" Mrs. Green fixed me with a steely gaze. "This is the kind of ammunition we need, but are you prepared for the fallout? He won't go down without a vicious fight." I thought of Meredith's anguished cries, of Callie and Ian's confusion and heartbreak. Dane had torn our lives apart without a second thought. It was time for him to face the consequences. "I'm ready," I said, my voice resolute. "Let's take him down." I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back at me. Dark circles ringed my eyes, a testament to the sleepless nights spent agonizing over Meredith's absence. But I couldn't afford to crumble, not now, not when so much was at stake. With a deep breath, I steeled my resolve and headed to the art gallery, where I'd agreed to pick up a few shifts. Keeping busy was the only way to stay sane during this living nightmare. "Alara, is that you?" I froze at the familiar voice, turning to see Tom, an old friend from college, standing behind the counter. "Tom, what are you doing here?" He grinned, that same mischievous smile I remembered from our younger days. "I own this place now. Well, co-own it with my wife. But enough about me. What's going on with you? You look like hell." The words tumbled out before I could stop them, the pain and anger I'd been bottling up finally finding release. I told him everything. Dane's sudden demand for divorce, the custody battle, the evidence Mrs. Green had dug up about his shady business dealings. Tom's expression hardened, his jovial demeanor replaced by a steely resolve. "That son of a bitch. He's not getting away with this, Alara. Not on my watch." "What do you mean?" He leaned in, his voice low. "I've got connections. People who can dig up dirt on your scumbag ex. If he thinks he can just waltz in and destroy your family, he's got another thing coming." A glimmer of hope kindled in my chest. After weeks of feeling powerless, I finally had an ally in my corner. "You'd do that for me?" Tom placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "Of course. We've been friends forever, and friends don't let friends get screwed over by low-life dirtbags like Dane." Over the next few days, Tom's network of informants went to work, uncovering a trail of evidence that painted a damning picture of Dane's business practices. Embezzlement, tax evasion, even whispers of an affair, it seemed there was no depth to which he wouldn't sink. Each new revelation was like a dagger to my heart, but it also fueled my determination to bring him down. This man, who had once sworn to love and cherish me, had become a stranger, a monster willing to sacrifice everything for his own greed and ego. "We've got him," Tom said, sliding a thick manila envelope across the table. "Everything we need to bury that bastard in court." I flipped through the documents, my hands trembling. Photos of Dane with another woman, bank statements detailing his financial crimes. It was all there, laid out in black and white. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "I don't know how I'll ever repay you." Tom's expression softened. "Just promise me one thing. When this is all over, you'll find a way to be happy again. You and those kids deserve a fresh start, away from that toxic son of a bitch." I nodded, determination burning in my chest like a wildfire. "Don't worry. By the time I'm through with Dane, he'll be the one begging for mercy." The envelope felt like a lead weight in my hands as I approached Dane's house. My heart pounded in my chest, a mix of anxiety and anticipation coursing through my veins. This was it, the moment I'd been waiting for, the chance to expose Dane's deceit and fight for my family. The door swung open, and there he stood, his expression a mask of arrogance. "Alara, what a surprise. We need to talk." I brushed past him, entering the house that had once been my home, now a cold and unfamiliar place. "What's this about?" Dane crossed his arms, his tone laced with impatience. I took a deep breath, steadying my nerves. "I know what you've been up to, Dane. The embezzlement, the affairs, all of it." His eyes widened, but he quickly regained his composure, letting out a derisive laugh. "You're delusional. You have no proof." With trembling hands, I opened the envelope, spreading the damning evidence across the coffee table. Bank statements, photographs, everything Tom had uncovered. Dane's face drained of color as he stared at the incriminating documents. "Where did you get these?" "That's not important." I met his gaze, my voice unwavering. "What's important is that I have everything I need to take you down in court. You're not going to win this custody battle, Dane. Not after the judge sees what a lying, cheating scumbag you really are." His nostrils flared, his hands clenching into fists. "You think this is a game, Alara? You have no idea what you're up against." "Don't threaten me." I took a step closer, my anger rising like a tidal wave. "You're the one who threw our family away like it was nothing. You're the one who broke Meredith's heart and made our children cry. And now you're going to pay the price." Dane's jaw tightened, his eyes burning with fury. "This isn't over. Not by a long shot." As he stormed out of the room, I allowed myself a small smile of satisfaction. The mighty Dane Moore was finally starting to crack, and I was the one holding the hammer. Later that night, as I tucked Callie and Ian into bed at my mother's house, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. For the first time in weeks, I didn't have to hide the truth from my children or put on a brave face. "Mom?" Callie's voice was soft, her eyes wide with concern. "Are you and Dad getting a divorce?" I took her hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "Yes, honey, but it's for the best, I promise. Your dad, he's done some things that have hurt our family, things that can't be forgiven." Ian crawled into my lap, his small arms wrapping around my neck. "Are we going to be okay?" I pressed a kiss to the top of his head, my heart swelling with love for these two incredible kids. "Of course we are. We have each other, and that's all that matters. No matter what happens, I'll always be here for you both. Always." As they drifted off to sleep, I allowed a few tears to spill down my cheeks. This battle had taken an immense emotional toll, but seeing the way my children looked at me, with trust, with love, made every sacrifice worth it. Dane might have money and power, but he would never have what truly mattered, a family who loved him unconditionally. And in the end, that would be his downfall. Mrs. Green's office was a sleek, modern space, but the weight of the upcoming custody battle hung heavy in the air. I sank into the chair across from her desk, my hands trembling slightly as I clutched the thick file containing the evidence against Dane. "You look nervous," she observed, her piercing gaze missing nothing. I forced a tight smile. "Can you blame me? This is everything. My whole future with my kids hangs in the balance. Which is why we need to be prepared for anything." Mrs. Green rifled through the documents, her brow furrowing. "Your husband is a real piece of work. The affairs, the financial crimes, he's left quite the paper trail." "So you think we have a strong case?" She fixed me with a pointed look. "I think we have the ammunition to bury him. But Dane isn't going to go down without a vicious fight. He's got money, connections, he'll throw everything he has at trying to discredit you." My stomach twisted into knots at the thought. After everything Dane had put me through, I couldn't bear the idea of losing my children, too. "What do I need to do?" I leaned forward, my voice laced with determination. "I'll do whatever it takes." Mrs. Green's expression softened ever so slightly. "Stay strong. Don't let him rattle you, no matter what underhanded tactics he tries. The truth is on our side. We just need to make sure the judge sees it that way." A few days later, Dane and I met for a mediated discussion, our respective lawyers in tow. As I entered the room, my breath caught in my throat at the sight of Meredith sitting beside her father, her eyes hollow and haunted. The ache in my heart was physical. "Alara," Dane greeted me with a cold sneer. "I see you've brought your pitbull of an attorney, ready to admit defeat." Before I could respond, Mrs. Green stepped forward, her presence commanding. "I'd watch my tone if I were you, Mr. Moore. We have more than enough evidence to expose your illicit activities." Dane's face flushed crimson, his hands clenching into fists. "You lying." "Dad, stop!" Meredith's voice cracked like a whip, cutting through the tension. "Just stop." We all fell silent, stunned by her outburst. Meredith had always been the quiet, reserved one. To see her stand up to her father like that was shocking. Dane turned on her, his eyes flashing with rage. "How dare you speak to me that way? I'm your father, and you'll show me some respect." "Respect?" Meredith's laugh was bitter, devoid of humor. "Why should I respect someone who tore our family apart, who made my little brother and sister cry, who cheated on Mom and treated her like garbage?" Her words hit Dane like a physical blow, and for a moment the mask of arrogance slipped, revealing the ugly truth beneath. A man consumed by greed and ego, someone who valued power over his own family. As we left the mediation, Mrs. Green pulled me aside, her expression grim. "He's unraveling. Dane knows his actions are indefensible, and it's making him sloppy, reckless." I glanced over at Meredith, still trembling from her confrontation with her father. "Did you see the way she stood up to him? My little girl is finally seeing him for who he truly is." A sad smile tugged at Mrs. Green's lips. "Then let's make sure her bravery wasn't in vain. It's time to take this bastard down once and for all." The courtroom was packed, the air thick with tension as Dane and I took our seats on opposite sides of the aisle. I could feel his glare boring into me, but I refused to meet his gaze, focusing instead on the 3 empty chairs where my children should be sitting. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Reynolds." As the judge entered, my heart hammered in my chest. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of my family. I glanced over at Mrs. Green, who gave me the slightest of nods, a silent reassurance that we were ready. The proceedings began with Dane's lawyer painting a picture of him as a dedicated father and successful businessman, someone who could provide lavishly for his children. I fought the urge to scoff out loud. Finally, it was our turn to present our case. Mrs. Green wasted no time in getting to the heart of the matter, systematically laying out the evidence of Dane's misdeeds. Bank statements, photos, even testimony from former business associates. Dane's smug expression slowly crumbled as the weight of his lies and betrayals was laid bare for all to see. By the time Mrs. Green finished, his face was ashen, his hands clenched into tight fists. "Would you like to take the stand, Mr. Moore?" The judge's voice was even, giving no hint of her thoughts on the revelations. Dane opened his mouth, no doubt prepared to spew forth more lies and excuses. But before he could speak, a quiet voice cut through the courtroom. "Don't bother, Dad. We already know the truth." Her eyes shining with unshed tears. My breath caught in my throat as she made her way to the witness stand, her slender frame trembling slightly. "Your Honor, I'd like to say a few words, if I may." The judge nodded, and Meredith took a deep breath, steadying herself. "For years my father has lied to us, to my mother, to my siblings, to everyone around him. He's cheated, stolen, and manipulated his way through life, caring only about himself and his own greed." Her voice wavered, but she pressed on, her gaze finding mine across the courtroom. "But my mom? She's the strongest person I know. She's the one who held our family together while Dad was off doing God knows what. She's the one who dried our tears and made us feel safe, even when everything was falling apart around us." Tears streamed down Meredith's face, but her words were laced with a strength and resilience that made my heart swell with pride. If anyone deserves to have us in their lives, it's her, not the man who treated us like afterthoughts, who saw us as possessions to be won or lost. A hush fell over the courtroom as Meredith stepped down from the stand, her words hanging heavy in the air. Dane stared at her, his expression unreadable, before dropping his head into his hands. In that moment, I knew we had won. Dane's carefully constructed facade had crumbled, laid bare by the heartfelt words of his own daughter. He was a broken man, undone by the very family he had sacrificed for his own selfish desires. As the judge called for a recess, Mrs. Green pulled me into a fierce hug, her eyes shining with triumph. "You did it, Alara. You fought for your family, and you won." I clung to her, my body trembling with a heady mix of relief and elation. The battle had been long and brutal, but in the end, love and truth had prevailed. And as I looked toward the future, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, my children and I would face them together, a united front stronger than ever before. The courtroom was deathly silent as Judge Reynolds re-entered, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. I felt Meredith's hand slip into mine, her slender fingers trembling with nervous anticipation. This was it, the moment we'd been fighting for. After careful consideration of the evidence presented, the judge began, her voice ringing out in the hushed chamber, "I hereby award full custody of Meredith Moore, Callie Moore, and Ian Moore to their mother, Alara Moore." A collective gasp rippled through the room, but I barely heard it over the roaring in my ears. We'd won. Against all odds, against Dane's wealth and power, we had won. Meredith threw her arms around me, her body shaking with relieved sobs. I held her close, pressing my face into her hair as tears streamed down my cheeks. My babies were coming home. Across the aisle, Dane sat frozen, his face ashen and drawn. As our eyes met, something flickered in his gaze, a glimmer of shame, of regret, before the shutters slammed closed once more. "This is an outrage!" His lawyer leapt to his feet, his voice booming through the courtroom. "You can't possibly think this woman is fit to raise those children." "That's quite enough." Judge Reynolds fixed him with a stern look. Mr. Moore's actions, his infidelity, his financial crimes, his utter disregard for his family have made it abundantly clear that he is not only unfit to retain custody, but a detriment to his children's well-being. Dane opened his mouth, no doubt poised to unleash another torrent of lies and excuses. But one withering glance from the judge silenced him, his shoulders slumping in defeat. As we stepped out into the courthouse lobby, a tremor of disbelieving joy rippled through me. We were free, free from Dane's tyranny, free to start fresh and rebuild the family he had so callously torn apart. Callie and Ian barreled into my arms, their faces alight with happiness. Mrs. Green stood off to the side, a proud smile tugging at her lips. "I can't thank you enough," I murmured, overcome with gratitude for the woman who had helped make this impossible dream a reality. She waved a dismissive hand. "Don't mention it. Seeing that pompous ass taken down a few pegs was thanks enough." A commotion at the entrance drew our attention, and we turned to see Dane emerging, his immaculate suit rumpled and his tie askew. A cluster of reporters swarmed him, shouting questions and snapping photos as he tried in vain to shield his face. "Mr. Moore, is it true you embezzled millions from your company? Care to comment on the allegations of infidelity? How does it feel to lose everything, your job, your money, your family?" Dane froze, his eyes finding mine through the chaos. For a fleeting moment the mask slipped, revealing the broken man beneath. A man who had sacrificed everything for greed and now had nothing left. As the reporters closed in, their flashing cameras blinding him, Dane did the only thing he could. He turned and ran, disappearing into the crowd like a disgraced phantom. I watched him go, a strange sense of pity mingling with my vindication. He had brought this reckoning upon himself, and now he would have to live with the consequences of his actions. But as I looked at my children, their faces aglow with joy and relief, I knew that his punishment paled in comparison to the reward that awaited us, a fresh start, free from the shackles of his toxic influence. A new chapter was beginning, one written in love, resilience, and the unbreakable bonds of family. And this time, I held the pen. The warm summer breeze carried the scent of freshly mown grass as I watched Callie and Ian chase each other across the backyard, their laughter ringing out in the peaceful afternoon. A contented smile tugged at my lips. This was the life I had fought so hard for, the simple moments of joy that Dane's toxicity had nearly stolen from us. "Mom?" Meredith appeared in the doorway, her expression pensive. "Can we talk for a minute?" "Of course, sweetie." I patted the spot beside me on the porch swing, and she sank down onto the weathered wood with a sigh. For a long moment she was silent, her gaze trained on the horizon as if weighing her words carefully. Finally she spoke, her voice little more than a whisper. "Do you ever wonder what might have happened if things had been different? If Dad hadn't—" She trailed off, but the unspoken words hung heavy in the air. If he hadn't lied, if he hadn't cheated, if he hadn't torn our family apart with his greed and selfishness. I reached out, taking her hand in mine and giving it a gentle squeeze. "Meredith, what your father did was unforgivable. He hurt us in ways that can never be undone, but dwelling on the past, on what might have been, will only breed more pain and resentment." Tears glistened in her eyes, and for a moment I saw the frightened little girl who had watched her world crumble before her. "I know he's a terrible person. I know he didn't deserve us, but I can't help missing the man he used to be, you know? Before all of this happened." My heart ached for her, for the innocence she had lost far too soon. Pulling her into my embrace, I stroked her hair, remembering all the nights I had rocked her to sleep as a baby. "It's okay to mourn the person he once was, sweetie. What your father became. That's on him, not you. You did nothing wrong." Meredith nodded, sniffling softly as she clung to me. In that moment, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Gratitude for her resilience, for her unwavering strength throughout this entire ordeal. "I'm so proud of you, you know that?" I murmured, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "You stood up to him when it mattered most, even when it was hard. You helped me fight for our family." A watery smile curved her lips. "We're a team, right? The four of us against the world. Always." As Callie and Ian bounded up the porch steps, sweaty and breathless from their games, I pulled them all close, reveling in the warmth and love that radiated from my little tribe. We had been through hell and back, but we had emerged on the other side, battered but unbroken. Later that night, as I tucked them into bed, I couldn't help but reflect on the long, arduous journey that had led us here. The lies, the betrayal, the agonizing custody battle, it had all been a crucible, testing the bounds of our love and resilience. But in the end, we had passed that test with flying colors. Dane's selfishness and greed had nearly destroyed us, but it had also revealed an unshakable truth, that our family was built on a foundation stronger than any force he could wield against us. As I drifted off to sleep, surrounded by the peaceful sounds of my children's breathing, I felt a sense of contentment wash over me. The future was a blank canvas, filled with endless possibilities and the promise of new beginnings. And this time, I held the brush, ready to paint a masterpiece of love, hope, and unbreakable family bonds that would endure long after the scars of yesterday had faded away.